Home buyers are about to make the wrong move in 2026, and it's gonna hurt. I've seen this happen before. The market shifts, the headlines change, and suddenly buyers start pulling back. They start hesitating, or they start chasing the complete wrong deals. But here's the truth. The ones that wait for the perfect time usually miss out on the entire market opportunity altogether. If you're thinking of buying a home in 2026, especially in the lower mainland of British Columbia, you need to really understand what is actually happening beneath the surface, because there are traps out there set specifically for you as a home buyer. And most people, they're not even gonna see them coming. In this video, I'm gonna break down the top 5 illusions that home buyers are going to have in 2026, the ones that are going to cost them dearly. And the ideal outcome of this video is you being armed with this information can help you sidestep all of them. And you're gonna wanna make sure you hang around for all 5, because numbers 1 through 5, all of them, has the power to derail all of your plans. You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right. Look, real quick, my name is Darren. I am the team leader of the German Group, a top-selling real estate team in the Fraser Valley area. If you're someone who is thinking of selling or buying a home in this market and you need the right advice, the right strategy, and the right results, you can book a time with me and my team below in the description of this video, and we'll give you the information that you need to help you be successful and navigate this market like a pro. Okay, so this is about my 3rd time living and helping people transact real estate in a market like this. And there are 5 monstrous misconceptions that buyers have in markets like this, and ones that really cost them. And I'm going to be the first to tell you in this video, I do not know where the market's going to go. And anybody that tells you that is simply lying to you, because nobody has a crystal ball. You can listen to all the economists and you can follow all the bank gurus and all the realtors who post here on YouTube. But frankly, nobody knows whether the market's going to go up, down, or sideways. Only time will tell. But let's get started into the 5 things that home buyers are going to get wrong in 2026 that are going to severely hurt them if they don't think differently about them starting today. The first is assuming that all sellers are desperate to sell their homes. This is simply just not the case. It is never the case. Now, it's not to say that some sellers are not desperate to sell their homes, but if you're someone that's looking to buy, I want to pull the curtain back a little bit. I get money is important. You know, money is up there with oxygen. It's something that we all need, something that we all like to hold on to, and we certainly don't like to give away. But I want you to consider the goal of buying a home a little less so than the price. And again, not to take weight away from the price, but just hear me out. You are not day trading real estate. You're not buying it one day and selling it another. When you buy a home, you are buying it because of various reasons. Likely you love the neighborhood, you love what the house offers, you don't think there's another home that can recreate that feeling or whatever you're looking for in that specific house. You're buying it for so much more than just simply the price of it. Or at least most people are anyways. So think of the actual goal here. The goal is to find a home that you're going to live in long term. And so many people are going to go into the 2026 market writing offers with home sellers that are going to be incredibly offensive. Real estate is largely driven by ego. And when I say ego, I mean both the ego of the buyer and the seller. And everybody likes to be right. But you as a home buyer, you have to decide whether you want to offend somebody that you actually want to work with. And that's where the asking price of the home really comes into play. It's not to say that homes can't be overpriced. Of course they can. But the homes that you're likely paying attention to, well, oftentimes they were probably already priced quite well from the start. You're likely not going to be the only people looking at the best home that you are able to find in the current market conditions in the marketplace. So you can certainly write what's considered a lowball offer to try and steal the property from the seller. That's certainly your right. But you do want to consider, if you're going to highly offend that seller, where is the chances of that offer actually ending up long term? Are you writing offers to win or offers to offend? Are you looking to enter into a competitive negotiation or a collaborative negotiation where you actually get what you want? So this isn't to say that 2026 is not going to be a market where you're going to find a good deal, but just remember that there is so much more to it than just getting a good deal on the house. It's about actually getting the house that you want, that you're going to last long term in, and it's going to solve all the problems of which you're buying the house for in the first place. The second on our list is thinking interest rates are going to get better. And hey, just like the real estate market, we don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. If anything, we've learned that the world is a wild and wacky place. And if we think things are predictable, we certainly know they are not. But I want to put things into perspective because coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, that set a lot of expectations on their head about where real estate prices should be as well as where interest rates should. So let's think about the COVID-19 pandemic for a moment, where we had what was called emergency level interest rates. They were at 0.25%. At least that's what the overnight lending rate was from the Bank of Canada. This is the rate that they lend the money out to the banks to therefore then lend the money out to the consumer. So why were they this low? Well, they wanted people to spend money. They wanted them to borrow it so they would spend it because that would plug money back into the economy. In fact, as an example, when people buy a home in British Columbia, it's estimated that almost $90,000 of spin-off buying is actually added back into the economy because you bought a house, you need an electrician, you're buying a couch, a new bed for that new bedroom, you're painting the house, whatever that might be, you're going to spend money on other trades and services when you purchase a home. So by having these emergency level rates, they knew that they could get the economy propped up so it wouldn't fail. Well, those times have come and gone. And now I want you to understand what the Bank of Canada considers to be a neutral rate. So a neutral rate is not where they're trying to stimulate the economy, and they're also not trying to slow down the economy. They're just kind of in a comfortable zone where they're not trying to impact it one way or the other. And the Bank of Canada estimates that currently that is anywhere between 2.25 to 3.25%. Well, as of the day of filming this video, and we have a rate announcement coming up on September 17th, the overnight lending rate from the Bank of Canada as of today is 2.75%, right smack in the middle of that neutral territory. Don't expect these rates to change significantly. And if you do expect them to change significantly, you might also want to understand that the variable rate is affected by the Bank of Canada, but not necessarily the fixed rate. That's affected by something completely different. And if you're unsure about that, take a look on our YouTube channel for everything about mortgages, which will explain that in further detail. But what I will add is 62% of Canadians in 2025 will choose fixed rate mortgages over variable rate mortgages. So if you're thinking that the fixed rate mortgages are going to change significantly, you might be in for a rude awakening. And the last point on that topic is my good friend AI. In fact, Google Gemini has let me know that over the last 20 years, the average overnight lending rate from the Bank of Canada was between 3.75 to 4%. And that's the average over the last 20 years. And guess what? We're at least 1% below that as of the day of filming this. The third mistake that is going to cost home buyers dearly in 2026 is getting your real estate advice from your parents, from your friends, or even from the news media. So why do I say this? You more likely than not want to work with real data rather than how people feel or letting broad strokes determine what you do with your real estate plans. Let me give you an example of that. The news comes up tonight and says that sales across Canada are down. And this concerns you as a home buyer thinking, geez, is this really the time that I should be looking at buying a home? Well, let's unpack that a little bit. Sales being down. What does that really mean, sales being down? Is that in reflection of prices, or is that just the amount of properties actually transacting? Does that have an impact on prices? Or if so, how long does it have to be going on for that actually to impact prices? Well, it also said homes across Canada. Are we buying a home in Canada, or are we buying a townhome in the city of Surrey in the Wally neighborhood? You see, these broad stroke comments about what's happening in real estate is not specific enough to help people make decisions about the own unique needs of a property in a specific area. To give you an example, we had a client recently who was listening to the news media as of the day of filming this, that the market was in a complete free fall. So we started expanding that a little bit and going into this very topic. They had estimated that in the last month, the type of property they were looking to buy had dropped almost $20,000 in just 30 days. Now you can imagine they were incredibly surprised and blown away to learn that in 6 months of a declining market for the type of home they wanted, in 6 months, that property had declined $20,000, meaning it was roughly about $2,000 to $3,000 per month that property was changing over the course of 6 months. Another thing that surprised them was that there were other markets markets in which they were interested in where the properties were actually increasing in value each and every month, because no two areas are the same. This is why getting the detailed information for unique neighborhoods and what you're buying is so critical and so important for you to make the right decisions. And one thing I'll share with you in selling real estate since 2007 and helping hundreds and hundreds of people just like you buy a home, by the time the information hits the news, even if it does apply to you, it's already too late because you've already missed the boat. The fourth massive mistake that home buyers are going to make in 2026 relates specifically to first-time home buyers who are trying to time the market. Now, this is assuming that those first-time home buyers, well, this is assuming that they are paying rent somewhere and they're not calculating what that rent is actually costing them. I want to paint a little bit of an example here for you, so bear with me. We'll throw some numbers up on the screen for you to play along, keep along. Let's assume at the current lending rate of a fixed 3-year mortgage at, let's say, 3.99% interest rate on a $500,000 mortgage amortized over 25 years. In the first year of paying that mortgage, that home buyer is going to put about $11,903 towards their principal, or better said, into the equity of their property, which is almost like a forced savings account. It's the bank account of your property. They're also going to pay about $19,734 in interest in their first year of mortgage. Roughly speaking, it's going to be a mortgage of just over $2,600 per month. Now, let's compare that $2,600, to be accurate, $2,636 per month that they'd be paying towards that property. And let's assume that they were paying even a lower amount of $2,000 per month towards rent. Number one, you're a smart person at home. You know that that $2,000 per month of rent that they are paying is completely gone each and every month. They are paying somebody else's mortgage. It is wasted money going into the absolute abyss. Now, when they own that property in mortgage payments only, it's going to cost them roughly $31,637 per year in payments, but $11,903 of that, if you remember, is equity. That means their net cost of owning in relation to mortgage payments only is $19,734, the number from previous, about $1,645 per month. So even though the mortgage payment looks higher than the rent, $2,636 versus $2,000 per month in rent, the true cost of owning after accounting for the equity buildup is lower. This means that the interest rate we use in this example, you're basically paying yourself almost $1,000 per month in forced savings instead of handing it back to a landlord. The rent is gone forever. But with the mortgage, part of your payment is like putting money back into your own pocket. Now, there's a few other things that we're not covering here. Like, of course, there's other costs to owning a property, but there's also costs to not owning a property. Do you remember the person we were talking about in the previous example where we said that there was roughly about a $20,000 change over the course of 6 months? Well, the fact of the matter is that could stop absolutely at any time. Had that person, however, not wasted all that money on rent and they started putting money towards their property, let's say 6 months ago, they would also be 6 months further along in paying down their 25-year mortgage, meaning they would only have 24 and a half years left remaining. This means that they're going to be payment free on that particular property after 24 and a half years rather than 25 had they have started today. The earlier they start, the earlier they get done making payments completely. And as we alluded to earlier, we don't know what the market will do, whether it will continue to decline, whether it will go up, or whether it'll just stay flat. But the one thing we know for certain is you cannot enjoy the equity gains of what happens in the market if you're not participating in it, meaning you're not an owner. The fifth thing that is going to sting home buyers so badly in 2026 is thinking that a big crash is coming. Let's acknowledge the market conditions have changed, especially in the last couple years. It's been all over the place. But what I would suggest is, where is normal? Where would a healthy market, where should a healthy market exist in the lower mainland of British Columbia? Do we have more to correct? Or have we overcorrected, and are we going to pay for that overcorrection in another upswing back up, which we've seen so many times in this market? And that's where, as a home buyer, you really have to consider the risks and reward of what you're trying to do. If you are sitting on the fence and you think a big crash is coming, you could work off the data that you have available today. And what I would also recommend you consider is just thinking about what the ideal conditions, if you had to write out your dream opportunity for buying a home, what might that look like? And I would guess that it's going to look very similar to what the conditions look like today. But you can act on the data that you have today, or you can hope. You can simply hope that the market will continue going in a certain direction. But the question becomes, What if you're wrong? There is no guarantee that the market will go down. There is no guarantee the market will go up. But that's exactly the point. What if what you think is going to happen is just simply incorrect? If you're someone who has been thinking of buying a home, I really hope this video is giving you a little bit of a different perspective to consider things as you're going into the 2026 market. We did an accompanying video very similar to this one for home sellers and some of the biggest misconceptions that are really going to sting them. So if you're interested in checking that out, we'll have that coming up and running right after this video is done. So hang around and check that out. But what I'm also going to ask you to do is we're going to have a 2026 prediction video being released very, very soon, where we are going to look at what all the economists are saying. We're going to look at what all the big banks are saying are going to happen. We're going to look at the market data, and I'm going to lean a little bit on my own opinion as a 18-year top selling veteran of the lower mainland real estate market. This is something you're definitely not going to want to miss. So you can find anything related to what's going on with BC real estate and specific to Surrey and South Surrey and White Rock. We do a lot of videos with data and what's going on in those areas as well, but you're definitely going to want to subscribe because you're not going to want to miss any of that. So anyways, I will see you over on the seller's version of this video coming up right now. Thanks for watching.